Hey y'all, I'm Brer Sam, and this is one of my movie reviews. So today is the birthday of one of rock and roll's biggest legends, John Lennon. And you can see that I have a cutout of John Lennon right behind me. And that might raise the question, where are his bandmates? Well, Paul, George, and Ringo are actually in my bedroom. I'm in my music room now, so my dad insisted that I put John in this room because he likes to practice guitar in here. So with John here, it would be like playing guitar with him, and I think that's cool. So for John Lennon's birthday, I watched a movie that depicted his childhood called Nowhere Boy. Obviously a play on the Beatles song title Nowhere Man. And this film follows the childhood of John Lennon. I think he's like 16 years old or something. And it starts when he gets his first harmonica. No, I don't think it's for his birthday. He gets a harmonica from his uncle who dies shortly after. And then he starts seeing his mother again. And he doesn't live with his mother, he lives with his aunt. So he spends more time with his mother. And he gets introduced to rock music like Elvis and people like that. And you also see him at school getting caned for being a rebel. Yeah, in those days, you get hit in the head with a cane if you were bad. And then, of course, he decides to form his own rock and roll band. They called it skiffle in those days. Before rock and roll was full-blown rock, it was skiffle. Americans called it jug band music. They called it skiffle in England. And then, of course, he meets his pals Paul and George. And you don't see Ringo come in because it stops right after his mother dies. Yeah. So as someone who knows the Beatles almost inside and out, I can say that this film was very well done. It really got into the details. I mean, John Lennon was an absolute Elvis fan. I actually remember reading a quote of his saying, "Before there was Elvis, there was nothing." And he's right. Elvis was the king of rock and roll, and the Beatles sort of stole his thunder a little bit. So yeah, it got that part right. John Lennon was an Elvis fan. And of course that had to leave some inspiration with him, and it got a lot of things right. Like before the Beatles, the name of John Lennon's band was the Quarrymen, and he had some schoolmates there, and Paul McCartney joined, and George Harrison joined, and it shows them joining very well. Paul is introduced to John by their friend Ivan, and that part is true. McCartney and Lennon met at these fairgrounds or something, and I had the privilege of going to the very spot where they met when I was in Liverpool a few years ago. And I can say that the way they depict the way John lived at the time is almost perfect. I mean, Julia Lennon's house could be a little bit poorer because I saw the childhood homes of all four of the Beatles, and John had two childhood houses, one with his mother and one with his Aunt Mimi. And Mimi was easily a lot wealthier than Julia. I mean, she lived in a mansion compared to where Julia lived. And also the depiction of Julia, actually, that's probably one thing that they might have got wrong, because I don't know what the woman was like in real life. I mean, but the way they depict her here is a little risque and pretty, I don't know. Oh, I mean, when you first see her, she's got another husband, she's got two little girls, she loves John, obviously, she goes out with him, she wants to get to know him, he wants to get to know her, and I'm like, okay, that's nice. But she's treating him like he's some sort of hot boy on the street that she wants to, I don't know, do something with. And you know what? And then later she turns out to be like a psychopathic liar, okay, maybe not liar, but certainly psychopathic, because it's revealed that John Lennon's father was in the Navy or something, and I think that was correct. And and he actually had the argument with Julia about making the marriage work, but Julia apparently was a cheat, and she married her current husband while still married to the father. And I'm like, what? So somewhere, I mean, yeah, I was actually waiting for them to tell the truth about that, because woven into the movie a lot is these sort of flashbacks of little John going, "Mommy, Daddy," and just these visuals of the parents arguing, and it's like, where is this gonna go? And that's where it went. Something totally outrageous, and I'm like, that is messed up. And the way they worded it is that Mimi stole John from Julia, and I don't know. I mean, to me, she was taking him because she wanted to protect him, and the entire movie, I was like, okay, she's too strict. Just let the kid be himself. Like, if I actually remember, there's a scene where she actually sells his guitar because he's not doing well in school. I mean, come on, woman, it's a little much. But after the whole thing with Julia and Alfred, it's like, I was siding with Mimi by then. Yeah. So somewhere they are trying to depict Julia the way she was in real life, but it was just lost. And also, one other thing that they might have gotten wrong in this film is, actually, it's something that they got wrong with something they got right. And because John Lennon did have a friend named Pete Shotton who got in trouble with him a lot at school, and he was in the Quarrymen when they started. He was playing the washboard. But in this film, it's said that Pete's father wants him to be a police officer or a soldier or something. So he has to leave the band. But the reality is that he just confided with John that he didn't enjoy playing in the band, and that's why he left the band. But what they did get right is that when Pete announces he's leaving the band, John hits him in the head with a washboard, and that is what he did in real life. Yeah, John. Been known to happen. And I also think, I'm actually not sure if this is right or wrong, because I knew that Julia was involved in some sort of accident when she died. And she did die when John was like really, really young, 17 years old. And I thought that she was driving in her car when she crashed and died. But in this film, she gets hit and she just dies with her eyes open after getting hit by a car. And I'm like, oh. And actually one person in the Beatles' early career that was not in this film that I would have liked to have seen is Stu Sutcliffe. And he was mentioned near the end when John says, "Oh, we got a couple of Stu's paintings in there." But yeah, I would have liked to have seen him make an appearance. I mean, does anyone know of any Beatles movies where Stu is depicted? Because I want to see that. I want to see more of him. Like that recording of him singing "Love Me Tender" can only do so much. And he was a good friend of John Lennon, so I would have liked to have seen him in this. But that is a good complaint to have. And I really have to give credit to other things they did right. They had the locations correct. They nailed how John interacted with Paul and George when they first met. George especially, because John didn't think that he'd be a good quarryman because he was young. But he hears him play guitar and bam, he's in the band. And so they definitely got that right. And they got good actors to play the lads. The boy playing John, I thought he was really good. And Mimi's actress, I thought she looked familiar, but her name just doesn't ring a bell. Oh, but the actor playing Paul, I did know, Thomas Brody Sangster. I recognized him as Ferb from Phineas and Ferb. Yeah, that's him saying those few lines. Actually, I went into this film expecting a nice biopic of John Lennon with Ferb playing Paul McCartney, but what I got is a really emotional journey with with a lot of raunch and swear words, but it holds up. I liked it very, very much. A very good biopic that is portrayed beautifully and emotionally. I love it, especially as a Beatles fan and someone who has been to Liverpool. There's no other words except I love it. Yeah. And you can't expect me to watch more Beatles films in the future. I just love the Beatles so much. A lot of my earliest videos on this YouTube channel are linked directly to them, and you can watch fan fiction movies I made of them, like A Rockin' Day in Liverpool or What to Expect When You're an Expecting Beatle. And you can read a lot about them on my Wattpad page. And you see the cutout of John now, but I'm sure that I will be able to squeeze in the ones of Paul, George, and Ringo real soon. So you can expect more Beatles from me real soon, just as you have in the past. And happy birthday up there, John. Mwah! I'm so sorry for you because of your parents. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoy. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see y'all later. This might be goodbye, but I'll say hello.